Today I'm in Madison County, Kentucky to discuss the life and the contributions and the burial location of a pioneer by the name of Hancock Taylor. We're going to be discussing him and showing you his final resting place. Traveling with me today is my historian buddy, friend, David Parker. David, we are in a very wide open area here. I'm just going to pan around here and show what this area looks like here. You want to give our audience here a little bit of idea of what this property encompasses?
Actually, just east of here and south of the campus of Eastern Kentucky University, you come to a place called Taylor's Branch. It used to be Silver Creek, but obviously as you go farther on, it's a tributary to what the Commonwealth of Kentucky called Taylor Lake. And so east of here is Eastern Kentucky University and a 50-acre ecological preserve that they have developed just within the last decade, right here in this area. In between those two points of interest lies the grave of Hancock Taylor, who in 1774 was surveying just north of here, near the mouth of where the Kentucky River and the Ohio River converge. And he was shot by Indians, and with his companions, they brought him back and to this spot. They tried to remove the bullet actually from his back with a pocket knife, but were unsuccessful. And of course, after a period of time, around late July, early August, he died here on the bank of this creek. And
the creek bears his name today.
The creek bears his name today.
Now, there are several things around here that bear his name. Would
Yes.
you touch on some of that?
Yeah, in fact, there are two markers in particular, one by the Grand Dame of Colonial America that was erected in 1951, giving the extensive story of how that Hancock Taylor was the first surveyor who came in through the Ohio to what they call the Falls of Ohio and surveyed 42,000 acres.
Which is now Louisville.
Which is now
The Louisville
Kentucky.
area.
Yeah. That was one of the first of his surveys, of several. And then in this particular area, he surveyed along what would be Frankfort, Kentucky. In fact, his cabin still exists today and is also known as the Offutt Cook Tavern.
Offutt Cook. I can't never remember that. That cabin was built onto.
Was built onto later by Offutt, and then later occupied by the Cook family, which incidentally, the daughter of Mr. Cook married a man by the name of James, and you will probably recognize his sons, Frank and Jesse James, and they lived there for a while in that.
And that cabin
tavern.
still exists as a part of the Offutt Cook.
Yes.
And that's in Midway.
Yes, that's just south of Midway.
Okay, but that was the original surveying headquarters.
Yes.
That Hancock Taylor would have based his operation out of.
And actually going right in front of it as it intersects is the old Frankfort Pike.
Yeah.
And that leading on, obviously leading to Frankfort, and he surveyed all of that area. But he was shot, and then they came this far southward, and the Fincastle Virginia officials actually sent Daniel Boone to warn him, but he was unsuccessful.
That the Indians were a little bit
They were on the
hacked off. So Boone did not reach Hancock Taylor surveying party in time.
No, and this actually his surveying and his death in 1774. It predated Boonesboro, which wasn't even in existence until 1775.
As most of the forts weren't. So it's fair to say then that Hancock Taylor, being a pioneer, and his surveying crew were surveying on behalf of the state of Virginia into what was then known as Fincastle County, Virginia, which
would
later become Kentucky County, Virginia, and later become the state of Kentucky. So Hancock must have been a pretty young guy.
I think in his 30s.
In his 30s.
And obviously, because of Revolutionary War service later on, his brother and many of his family members were they were living in the area of what we call Louisville, and that's where the 12th President of the United States, Zachary Taylor, which was his nephew, that's where he is buried.
So President Zachary Taylor is the nephew of Hancock.
Hancock Taylor. His father was Richard Taylor.
Now we come over here, we start to see the creek. You know, I guess you can only stop and ask yourself, why would they come here? Why would they come to this particular location to bury him, other than they're trying to become invisible?
They are, and you'll find on both sides when we get up here to where the grave is, it's kind of nestled in
the valley.
On both sides, but a beautiful creek that runs through here with fresh water.
So they knew that they found out the Indians were on the warpath, even though Boone didn't get that message to them.
Well, yeah, they found out.
They found out the hard way.
And another one of the party was also killed.
Okay.
There were 4, and the other 2 were rescued.
I'll be darned. That's a beautiful little creek flowing through here. And today the creek goes by what name?
Taylor's Branch.
Taylor's Branch. Amazing. Well, even though Hancock Taylor has by far and large been overlooked by history and historians, there are people out there who know of him. And as the years went by, his name was honored in several different ways. So we're kind of hoping to put a little bit of interest into the story of Hancock Taylor here today.
What we'll find here in just about 60 yards is we'll find the grave of Hancock Taylor that really it was discovered once again by a distant relative, a 5th great grandson of Taylor, and another of his cousins that flew in from Australia, and they located the grave and then wrote on it in a family blog. But they were descendants of Hancock Taylor, and not since 1981 that the Commonwealth of Kentucky erected a historical marker
up on the road.
On the road, has anything been really done other than a couple of posts in the ground and a chain?
Let's go check it out.
In 1851, the grand dames of colonial America, they actually said that Hancock Taylor was the first white man's grave in that region that would be called Kentucky.
Amazing.
The first white man grave in Kentucky.
Well, it's 1774,
yeah,
which is 249 years ago.
Yeah.
Next year will be 250 years since
250 years
since he was killed by the Indians on a survey job, basically.
Yeah.
Amazing. What an amazing place here. And the creek just nestled right in here in between 2 hills. And when those guys knew that the Indians were on their tails, they just continued until they found a sort of a desolate spot to place him. Okay, after he was shot, you were getting ready to say.
Yeah, after he was shot, he survived several days, maybe even weeks, but consistently grew worse. No doubt as in the infection from the bullet set in,
sure.
and began to do its work, getting weaker and weaker. But here along this beautiful babbling brook.
That's a great way to describe it. It is a babbling brook.
Yes, it's a beautiful place. But they found shelter, they found
water.
And
They hunkered down in here probably to see if he was going to be able to recover. And he succumbed to his injuries. Shot in the back by the Indians. And they actually brought him all the way down from the Falls of Ohio in the Louisville area. Is that where he was shot, or was he shot up here at the mouth of the Kentucky?
Yes, he was was shot at the mouth of the Kentucky, and actually closer to Frankfort, and on the way to Frankfort where his cabin was, in that general vicinity.
Yeah.
But at the mouth of the Ohio is where he was shot, and his comrades brought him this far when he perished.
Wow. Well, you know, there've been a number of people who have wondered where this burial is. I believe, Dave, you sent me a document a while back of a map that actually showed this location. It didn't really give specific GPS coordinates, but it did have a little star on the map that said Hancock, General Hancock Taylor's gravesite.
Yeah.
So we're going to see it today.
And the relative, the descendant of Hancock Taylor, couldn't find it themselves the first time until the second time. They asked a nearby farmer, and he said, "You just keep on going and follow this fence line about 200 yards, and you'll find it." Now, after the death, his brother Richard Taylor sought for and found his grave and erected a small wooden cross.
Richard Taylor, Revolutionary War hero.
Yes, and erected a cross, a wooden cross that has long since perished.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And all that remained, some had said that there was a stone that acted as a headstone.
Yeah.
But actually, it's just a pyre of stones.
Yeah.
Here.
And it's actually amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing it here, and but it's actually amazing being along these banks of this creek. You know, this thing has flooded a number of times in the past 249 years. That the pyre of stones are still here.
Yeah.
But as you're walking along, and I'll go back and show you where we came from. Way back up through there is the car. We parked way back up through there, and we've basically come down the creek, as Dave said, a couple hundred yards. And lo and behold, someone has set out some treated posts. There are people who know this grave is here, Dave.
Yes.
They've set out some treated posts and put some chain link to set it apart and to denote the burial site of Hancock Taylor. I'm gonna tell you something, man. This blows me away. Blows me away. Amazing. And this is just absolutely incredible. And you can hear the water.
Close proximity to the creek, and I can just imagine him laying on the side of the bank, holding on for life.
Holding on, trying to hang on. That's absolutely incredible, man.
The significance of this man, number one, is that he was known as, I think, arguably the very first person to survey in what would become
the state of Kentucky.
The state of Kentucky.
He was surveying Fincastle County.
Yeah. And in fact, at the Falls of Ohio, there is a marker that mentions his name. And the Filson Club in Louisville actually have a copy of his survey record, but the original one is in the University of Michigan. So all of his surveys still, and his
exist.
His journal still
all
exists.
Of his work still exists.
Yes.
Amazing. You know, that there's no denying that's a grave. That's a burial pyre.
Yeah. They've
249 years.
249 years, and still all we have, other than almost a half mile away, 2 markers. But now, thankfully, 4 posts and a chain link.
Well, you know what? We got to do better than this.
I think so.
And I don't know where to start, but you know, maybe the Madison County historical people, the Madison County Fiscal Court, Madison County Tourism. This needs to be, they need to get an era, what would you call it? An era-friendly stone carved in his memory and placed here. This is just not enough. This is just not enough for a guy who played such an important role in Kentucky history. And not just this guy, Dave, but his family members.
Absolutely. The Taylor family are really one of the founding families in Kentucky, and have a very important significance. Obviously, the 12th president, is buried not too far from the survey where he surveyed out the original land of Louisville.
What cemetery is he in? Is he in Cave Hill? Zachary Taylor?
I think Cave Hill.
Okay.
I have to double check.
Okay, I'm not sure either.
I'm actually putting together a shoot. I've shot some footage here, and I'm also going to go to Midway and finish
to the cabin
up there,
to the original cabin.
And
okay.
then I'm going to end up at the Falls of Ohio
Awesome.
and put together a little video.
Awesome, man.
Tracing his journey from his first survey to his final resting place.
Well, you guys need to make sure you find David's YouTube channel. I'll try to link it here below on this one. I can tell you right now, he's a much better talker than me. That is that reverend minister background that you have, Dave. He does a heck of a job, and his presentations are really well done, and this one's going to be no exception on the life and times of Hancock Taylor. But you know, really, going back to what we were talking about in the need, I'm really glad to see that we're not the only ones that know of this location.
Certainly.
By the, of course, the map where we saw this noted, the posts and the chain. But there's a lot of funds in Madison County between the historical people and the tourism people and the fiscal court people and the city of Richmond. They could spend an EKU, whose property this is either on or near, to put together a couple $1,000 and let's memorialize the Hancock Taylor grave in a way that it deserves to be remembered. Back in '08, you were talking about I guess it was an EKU student that tried to breathe some life into this same idea.
Actually, when I got to the location earlier today, I was pleasantly surprised that there were some treated posts and a chain link.
Yep, for sure.
Because for a couple centuries prior, there was nothing
other than these
rocks, pile of
rocks,
stones.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2008, there was a son of an Eastern Kentucky University student who became interested in the grave and actually wrote a letter to EKU and the powers that be with great interest that something be done.
Yeah.
Obviously,
hasn't been done yet.
It hasn't been done yet, and that was 2008.
You know, Dave, when I look at this grave, you know, these stones start right about right here.
Mm-hmm.
They're covered up with debris and leaves and years of that. But starting right there, that's a typical grave size right there.
Yeah.
And they just placed him right here on the bank.
Yeah.
Looking straight into the sun.
Right where he died.
Probably.
On the bank.
Amazing. The grave of Hancock Taylor. Do some digging on that, as well as the Offutt Cook Tavern at Midway. Do some research on that, folks, if you feel inclined. And I guess of all of my hankering around and surfing around on YouTube and stuff, this is a first for me. I'd never seen anything done on Hancock Taylor, and I appreciate you for bringing his life story to my attention, Dave.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate it, because those are the types of stories that people love to hear. On the first survey crew in Fincastle County, Virginia, folks, and he gave his life for that endeavor. Hancock Taylor, one of several prominent members of the Taylor family, I guess we could say. And that's going to do it from the banks of, what do you call that? Taylor Branch?
Taylor Branch.
Taylor Branch. What else they got named around about this guy around here? There's a road up here called
Hancock Taylor Lane.
Hancock Taylor Lane.
Which brings you into the Hancock Taylor Preserve.
Hancock Taylor Preserve.
And then the only other thing or indication would be on Lancaster Road,
Mm-hmm.
where you would find the historical markers erected by the grand dames of the
Yep.
colonial America and the state of Kentucky.
Yeah.
So,
And then here on the banks of Taylor Branch. Thanks for watching.